From that point forward, my brother and my sister-in-law informed me, "We'll take care of the household on our own, so you should find a new place to live." My mother, aligning herself with their decision, treated me as an impediment. Did they even comprehend who had been footing the bills for the house? I never anticipated such disrespect. In the recesses of my mind, I resolved to take certain actions. I go by the name Kinsley, a 30-year-old woman currently residing in my parents' home after returning from college. Initially, I ventured into the corporate world to forge my path, but the challenges overwhelmed me, prompting my return home. While navigating unemployment, I explored work-from-home opportunities. Armed with a scientific background, I embarked on a freelance engineering career, starting with modest projects. The income was meager, yet the experience of working independently was profoundly meaningful in stark contrast to conventional employment. I could generate ample income without excessive social interaction. As my confidence grew, so did my workload and earnings. Within a year, my income rivaled that of a regular corporate employee. However, the predicament lay in my parents' understanding, especially my mother's reluctance to embrace my work-from-home lifestyle. My father grasped my explanation, but my mother, rooted in traditional beliefs, harbored apprehensions about what she couldn't fathom. Despite my earnest attempts to explain, my mother persisted with questions. "How long do you plan on staying home?" she asked, insinuating doubts about the legitimacy of my online work. Despite presenting evidence of client emails and salary statements, my mother remained unconvinced. She suspected it was some shady business or involvement in a dubious religion. Despite the consistent payments and the legitimacy of my job, no matter how detailed my explanations were, she remained steadfast in her skepticism. "What if you end up relying on unemployment benefits?" "They're not permanent, she worried. Although I had contemplated living independently, my savings were not yet sufficient. Around that time, my father's health took a toll, with deteriorating legs and back necessitating nursing care. Facing early retirement and sudden income loss, my father assured me his pension would suffice. However, knowing my mother's spending habits, I questioned his ability to manage. His face wore the fatigue of anxiety about the uncertain future. My father supported me through college and during my return home due to mental health challenges. The idea of leaving him alone and living independently troubled me. My mother, too, grappled with confusion over my father's sudden condition. Contemplating the situation, I felt a sense of responsibility and a desire to give back. Reassuring my father, I pledged to support the family from now on. He expressed surprise. "Are you sure your income is enough?" But I confidently showed him my stable financial situation. Grasping the reality, my father, who had always understood my circumstances, was taken aback by my newfound stability. Encouraged by his understanding, I offered to help with household expenses, medical bills, and other financial obligations each month. I transferred a certain amount to my father's bank account, shouldering a significant part of the financial burden. Since my mother had been using my father's credit card, I created a new main card and provided her with a supplementary card. My father, mindful of saving money, urged her, "Please try to be more careful with spending." In response, my mother questioned, "Shouldn't Kinsley be the one to leave the house?" I pointed out my financial contributions and emphasized that it would be more challenging without my support. Skeptical, my mother remained unconvinced and suspicious of my assistance. It took my father's persuasion to finally gain her agreement, allowing me to continue living with them, continuing my work and household responsibilities. I noticed my mother increasingly taking my assistance for granted. Her strictness intensified with constant remarks like, "Can't you finish your chores faster?" I explained the challenge of multitasking while working, but she dismissed my concerns. The strain on our relationship became apparent, and it seemed irreparable. In contrast, my father, understanding my efforts, provided much-needed support. Despite this strained dynamic, we persevered in this manner for a year. After a year, my father's health took a sudden downturn, requiring hospitalization. Visiting him daily, I shared moments of concern and reassurance. Aware of the strain on me, my father expressed gratitude, saying, "I know it's not easy with your mother, but thank you for all you do." As my father grappled with health issues, the already strained relationship between my mother and me deteriorated further. Despite feeling suffocated at times, I remained committed to supporting my family. Recollections of my mother's past efforts, especially during my student days, kept me steadfast in this commitment. However, a significant shift occurred when my mother welcomed my brother Wesley and his wife Aaliyah. Their unexpected arrival brought an abrupt change to my living situation. My brother explained their decision: "We'll be living here from now on to ease the burden on you." I was taken aback, and my mother seemed to avoid eye contact. While my brother and his wife claimed their intention was to support me, there was a hidden meaning in their words. My mother, expressing gratitude, subtly hinted, "Now you can contribute more to the household." Despite the surprise, I learned that my brother, a graduate of a prestigious college, had joined a reputable company. The unexpected turn of events left me questioning the true motives behind my brother and his wife's presence in our home. Certainly, he must have been earning a substantial salary, but I too was diligently pursuing my own endeavors. I wondered if they could manage without my contributions. Transitioning into a new life at home with my brother and his wife proved to be more demanding than anticipated. "Wake up, Kinsley, make breakfast," Alia hollered, banging on my door. Fully awake and already engrossed in my work, I responded, "I'm already up and working." Despite my work commitments, they insisted that I prepare breakfast. "Get on with it and get breakfast ready," Alia demanded. Reluctantly, I forced myself to assist. Considering our family's usual morning freedom, where we typically enjoyed meals at our own pace, I presumed it was customary for the wife to prepare breakfast for her husband. However, my sister-in-law insisted on cooperation, and I reluctantly joined them in the kitchen. Despite my efforts, their dissatisfaction was evident. "Is this what you prepared for breakfast?" "This isn't enough," they complained. I had meticulously crafted a breakfast plate featuring soft scrambled eggs, a refreshing lettuce salad, fresh buttered toast, and a succulent sausage, thinking it would be well received. However, it seemed I had missed something. "You don't have to eat it," I retorted, my frustration bubbling over. Their surprise was palpable, and their reaction turned confrontational. "Who do you think you are?" Aaliyah snapped, while Wesley mockingly added, "What kind of attitude is that?" "Just who do you think you are?" My response didn't convince them much. "Look, I have work commitments," I tried to explain, but they dismissed it. "What kind of work is that?" "Are you crazy?" Wesley exclaimed. Frustrated by their lack of understanding and the impact on my work, I packed my laptop, ignored their protests, and left the house. As I departed, my brother's voice echoed in the background, demanding to know where I was going. Ignoring his question, I proceeded to my father's hospital room. When I hurried in, his surprised gaze met mine. "Kinsley, what's wrong?" "You seem flustered," he observed. "I just had a huge argument with Wesley and the others," I replied, feeling overwhelmed. My father, wearing a concerned expression, responded, "I didn't know things had gotten this bad." "I'm sorry, Kinsley. Don't worry about it. You can choose your own way of life." Feeling lost, I voiced my concern. "But what about Mom? She might feel more comfortable if Wesley were at home." "You don't need to be in a place where you don't feel comfortable," my father reassured me. All I want is for you to live happily, live your life the way you want to." Encouraged by his words, I made up my mind to leave home that evening. Upon returning, I encountered a tense scene resembling a movie. The serious faces of my mother, brother, and sister-in-law greeted me. My brother accused, "Why weren't you at work?" "I had to take the day off because of you." I inwardly questioned the ease with which he took time off work. Their voices escalated, culminating in my brother demanding, "Get out of here. From now on, the three of us will live together. If you don't want to stay, then please leave. We don't need someone like you around." Shocked, I replied, "Why? What did I do?" Ignoring my protests, my brother and his wife insisted, "You're not needed here anymore. We can manage without you." My mother, taking their side, also considered me a hindrance. Frustration built up as they dismissed my involvement in the family's finances and focused on their own concerns. Enraged by their insensitivity, I devised a plan. I transferred the money linked to the credit card my mother used daily to another account under my control. I knew it would surprise her when she could no longer access her card. Next, I moved money from my father's account, a crucial pillar supporting the family's financial stability, into a separate account only accessible for his medical expenses. This step was taken without my mother's knowledge. Shifting the financial burden onto my brother and his wife, I knew that, although I didn't know the details of my brother's income, this would weigh heavily on him. After completing these formalities, I gathered my belongings and declared, "I'm leaving." To my surprise, my mother, brother, and sister-in-law, who had been relentlessly harassing me, looked taken aback. Their astonishment revealed that they hadn't anticipated my decisive action. Yet from the expressions on their faces, it seemed they were secretly enjoying the moment. As I announced my departure, they belittled me, expressing their relief. "You're finally leaving. We've never dealt with such a troublesome person. You're not coming back, are you?" they sneered. "Of course not," I retorted, adding, "Don't contact me." They smiled as I left the house, but I couldn't help but wonder what they would think once I was gone. Embarking on a new life in a tranquil environment, I found solace and the freedom to enjoy my own time. Refreshed and focused, I immersed myself in my work. However, as expected, a call from my brother disrupted the peace. "I told you not to contact me. What's wrong?" I asked sharply, not hiding the irritation in my voice. His tone was filled with surprise and urgency. "Kinsley, what did you do with the family finances? We can't manage anything anymore." I calmly reminded him, "I told you several times about my work, but neither you nor Mom ever believed me. I managed the finances to support all of you." Well, Mom said a lot of things and I was confused. He admitted, a hint of desperation in his voice. "You can't expect me to continue supporting you when I'm not there anymore. You'll have to handle it now." Not long after, my brother contacted me again, this time urgently requesting money. Perplexed, I asked, "Are you joking? Don't you work for a large company?" To my shock, he confessed, "I got fired, Kinsley. I made a big mistake at work." His revelation left me speechless. It dawned on me that he might have returned to our parents' house, assuming there was enough money available, perhaps relying on the notion of a stable pension following our father's retirement. I couldn't help but find amusement in the thought of his astonishment when he learned the truth about my contributions. His wife and our mother joined in pleading for financial aid, claiming they were on the verge of running out of savings. My mother even revealed, "Your father refuses to contribute to household finances any longer." In response, I firmly stated, "I supported you all enough. It's time for you to work hard and support yourselves." I severed communication, emphasizing my decision to distance myself from their financial struggles. My father, recognizing the strain in his relationship with my mother, consulted a lawyer and opted for a quieter life in a different place. While I continued to visit him daily, a friend shared updates on my brother's recent struggles. He had moved into a modest apartment and was leading a frugal life. My mother, once a homemaker, faced challenges in her sudden job, and my brother found it difficult to adapt to the opinions of younger colleagues. Despite his wife's efforts, she eventually succumbed to the pressure and left, leaving my brother and mother to navigate their challenges together. Concerns lingered for my mother, who maintained her habit of overspending and accumulating debts. However, I recognized my limitations in offering assistance and focused on my own endeavors. I worked diligently in a comfortable living space, gradually amassing more resources, and contemplated new ventures. My aim was to spend quality time with my cheerful father, appreciating every moment with him.